Good morning, world. Meria here, alive and kicking. Hope everybody out there is doing well. The sun has had a lot of things to say to us this week, and it seems to have affected China's satellites and communication already. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. My show today is Conversations with David, and my co host, of course, David Icke. So I'm very happy to have David with me. Good morning, David.
Hello, Meria.
How are you today?
I'm okay, actually. I'm not bad. I've just got back from Ukraine, where they do cold. Um, Seriously do cold. That was a very successful trip. And for some reason, I was on the mainstream media there, on national radio and television programs, which kind of took me aback. But it was very successful, and so yeah, everything's going well really. And I'm going to come to Los Angeles in March and got a cough and talk there, and yeah, things are going well really.
That's great.
Personal things to sort out as always. We have our challenges, but apart from that, the work's going really well.
Well, that's absolutely great. How did they treat you on TV? Did they still try to ridicule you, or did they actually honor some of your work?
Well, actually, the latter, really. I was treated with great respect. I was astounded at how widely my information was known there. Yeah, it was very successful. There's one interesting point, though, just to show how some of it works. One of the bewildering things, if people looking at the Ukraine from the outside, is that they had, you remember, a revolution in 2004 called the Orange Revolution. And what that was, and it was like the Ukraine version of Egypt in the last couple of weeks or so, and it got the same amount of coverage and its people power. And what they did was replaced, as a result of those protests in the street, a man called then President Viktor Yanukovych. He was removed because of claims over vote rigging. Well, guess who is president of Ukraine now? Viktor Yanukovych. So all that Orange Revolution was a complete waste of time and effort by genuine people, because the system has just turned it round and put him back. When I was doing a live television interview, and of course being in the Ukraine, there's someone sitting next to me, the interpreter was interpreting what I said, and I made that point. I said, if you just at the end of an answer, if you have a revolution, the Orange Revolution in 2004, and a few years later you've got the guy you've thrown out back in the presidency, how can that be a revolution? And the interviewer kind of leaned forward and said something to the interpreter very quickly in Ukrainian. I don't understand what it was. And then just as he was finishing off translating my answer, she cut him off, basically. Said, "Oh, sorry, we've run out of time." So afterwards, the interpreter said, "You know what she said to me? She said, when you said about the revolution not being a revolution and how can the president that was thrown out now be president?" She leaned forward and said, "Don't interpret that, or don't translate that." And he said, "Well, I was going to translate it," and I started to translate it, and that's when she leaned forward and said, "Sorry, we've run out of time. We've got to end it there." So even in a country that now claims itself to be free and democratic, this wonderful joining of words, freedom and democratic, as if the two mean the same, which they absolutely don't. But even then, you're actually being blatantly edited in terms of what the people there would have got from me who didn't speak English, which is the vast majority, in a so-called free and democratic country. So I felt a lot of the old communist energy and fears in the country still there. That a lot of the fear of authority is still there. And when you go around and you go into a hotel, at the entrance you've got people that look like refugees from the KGB sitting there, all dressed in black and the old shades on and all the rest of it. So it was an interesting trip, really, and I learned a lot.
Well, it's a shame because, that's what a lot of people are saying about Egypt. What are they going to do? Are they going to end up with somebody worse than they already had?
Well, what's happening is that genuine resentment, genuine frustration at the oppression and suppression, at the violence and tyranny that has been imposed upon the Egyptian people for 30 years since Mubarak came to power. That genuineness, as with the Orange Revolution in Ukraine and with the Rose Revolution in Georgia that brought this U.S. government Illuminati frontman into power called Sharkas Vali, the president, made in America, in fact made by George Soros and Zbigniew Brzezinski. They were genuine. Most of the people were genuine as they were in Egypt. I mean, it was kind of a strange feeling, really, Meria, and quite an appropriate one, because I was sitting in a hotel room in Kiev in Ukraine, watching live on Al Jazeera television channel the announcement that Mubarak was standing down. Oh, excuse me, and the amazing scenes that followed. And it was ironic because pretty much just down the street, a short drive away from where I was sitting watching that, was Independence Square in Kiev, where the focus of the Orange Revolution was, which they now have the president they threw out. Mm-hmm. And so I was looking at it from a split point of view. One, the joy and exhilaration of the relief of Mubarak going was one thing, but you can only judge a revolution by what the country's like and who's running it at the end of it. Mm-hmm. And what we're looking at now is the henchmen, the army, and this guy, Tanwari, the head of the country at the moment, the military man, 25 years as defense minister, a long time, in fact, pretty much lifelong friend of Mubarak. He's now running the country. This guy, Suleiman, who was the a deputy president, brought in to be deputy president after the protest started. He's the guy that runs Egyptian intelligence. And together, they enforced the will on the people of Mubarak through the most unbelievable levels of violence and intimidation, and also did the torture in this program they call rendition, where the American government was sending detainees to Egypt to be tortured in ways that would be illegal if it was done in America. And so these are the people now currently who are running the country. I mean, the only person who's gone is the front man, in effect, the figurehead, Mubarak. And in the background, again, coming into the country after the protest started, this guy, Mohammed El Baradi, flew in from, I think it was Austria, and now he is saying he's going to stand for president and all the rest of it. Well, who's El Baradi? He was the head of the International Atomic Agency and all that stuff, but he's also on the board of an organization called the International Crisis Group, which is part of the George Soros, who's chairman of the organization, the George Soros stroke Zbigniew Brzezinski network of foundations and what have you that manipulate people's revolutions to change a regime in the way that they want it changed. Mm. Because if you go in with tanks like in Iraq, then it's pretty clear, basically, and you pepper bomb the cities from the sky, it's pretty clear that you've gone in and enforced your will on the regime change. And that doesn't go down increasingly well with people who are sick of it. If you can get the genuine anger, frustration, resentment of the people, desiring freedom, desiring an end of oppression, if you can get them onto the streets to remove the regime or change the regime in a way that you want it, then it seems like the people have made the change, when at the end of it, your people or your new generation of people or your new situation of control is in place. And the people that were in charge before, the force behind them, is still in charge again. The other thing that they want, this is why it's so blatantly obvious, they want as many upheavals and as much chaos as possible in the Arab countries of the Middle East. They're trying to get it going in Iran now, as we can see, because they have a new stage of the program now, the agenda, where they want to create mayhem in the Middle East, because if you try to manipulate harmony, it's very difficult. You try to manipulate chaos, it's a piece of cake. Order out of chaos and all that stuff. And it's no accident for me that the things I've picked up over the years when I've been researching this, and indeed that are actually written down in some places in letters and what have you, is that they want a third world war triggered out of the Middle East with the Arab countries and Israel in one description, mutually destroying each other. This is why the Rothschilds have created Israel and control it to this day. It's there to cause a problem, and they want to bring China in, and they want to bring Russia in, and Europe and North America for this third world conflict, after which they can have a massive global problem to which they can offer their solution, which will be the complete centralization of power in the world, a world army to stop this ever happening again, and all that stuff. And it's interesting when you look at the map of the Middle East, and you pick it up in Egypt. You go to your right, you're into Israel. You go to your right and a bit lower, you're into Jordan, into Syria, into Lebanon. You go further across and you're hitting Iraq. You go further across, you're hitting Iran. That's why they want Iran big time, because it's in that line of countries from Egypt and North Africa across through Iraq, Iran, into Afghanistan, where they're already in, of course, and into Pakistan, which they're absolutely systematically destabilizing, not least with their drone bombings in the name of fighting terrorism. And from Pakistan, you're onto the Chinese border. And so the potential for, I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but the potential for this to unravel into a major conflict is absolutely there. And given that it's been the plan all along, it seems that we're starting to enter a whole new phase of this, right. a seriously challenging phase. And when you've got Henry Kissinger during the protests in Egypt saying that this is basically, paraphrasing him, the first act, the first scene of the first act in a drama that's unfolding, that's exactly what he's talking about, the unfolding drama, which is basically just following the script that has long been planned to play out. It's up to the people not to react in the way desired, and to get informed and realize how the game's played, and what the methods of manipulation are, what the goal is. And when you know those three things, then you're very much more difficult to scam and manipulate.
Right. Well, it seems like the people are at least selecting the right people to picket and protest against. They understand it's the bankers, and that's who they seem, even in the UK, to be targeting, the bankers and the corporations. So I think we've done a great job educating people on the ground. Now, one thing I would want to ask you, and I'll go back to your book, The Truth Vibrations. When I look at what's going on, and, this morning Bahrain is also protesting and getting slaughtered by their government. When I look at that, what I think about and have thought about is your book on the truth vibrations. And it surely seems to me that the truth vibrations are hitting this planet at the speed of light, the way people are waking up. Even here in our, not Arizona, but in Wisconsin, we've had tens of thousands of people protesting the government where they want to cut their union benefits out and eliminate their union protection.
Yes, this is a very important area. Yes, what I termed the truth vibrations 21 years ago now, this information, energetic change, which is, I was told was coming 20 years ago, which demonstrably is starting to, as I was told it would, tease open people. Indeed, break open very quickly in many people now. The coma state, the suppressed state that humans have been in, and the ability just to take whatever's thrown at them now, and not resist and not respond in ways that are necessary. Now, of course, there's still loads of people that are in that state. Mm-hmm. What is clearly happening, and I've kind of been a barometer of this, having played through this over the last 2 decades. It's definitely happening, and Ukraine, I think, was the 52nd country I've been to. It is happening all over the world, more in some places than others. But this is where, if you like, the spiritual and the streetwise must come together, because if we don't understand the way the game's played, the techniques of manipulation, and where this manipulation wants to take the world, then we can end up, if we're not very careful, expressing this desire for change, this desire for freedom and the end of impositions of the kind that we're seeing. We can express that and support an agenda, an outcome, if you like, that is the opposite to what we think we're supporting. This is why it's so important to take a deep breath, take a step back, and just look at everything. Who benefits from doing what I'm doing at this point? Up to the point now in Egypt, who benefits? Well, the military benefit because they're in charge. The people that were basically in government before benefit because they're still basically in government. So we've reached a point where something has moved, i.e. Mubarak's got his backside out of Cairo and down to the Samuel Sheikhs or wherever he goes with his holiday home. But nothing has changed yet. There hasn't been a revolution, and that's why, as I speak today, this is a constantly changing story, obviously. It's encouraging to see that strikes are still going on in Egypt, and people are refusing to say, okay, we've done what is necessary, and they're saying, no, we're going to keep going. Or some of them are nothing like the numbers before. It needs to keep going. It needs to keep on and on and on until the outcome is that the country is genuinely free and is genuinely run for the people, and not the people run on behalf of the few, which is still currently the case. But yes, and these truth vibrations, as I call them, are not something that's like reach a level and then stop, like plateau out. What's happening is they're getting more and more powerful and impacting more and more on human perception and the human feelings for what they want to do and with their lives and what they won't take anymore. And therefore, 2011 is going to be more powerful than 2010, 2012 more powerful than 2011. But it's not that 2012 is the big, either the end of the world or the great new era. Right. 2013 is going to be more powerful than 2012, 2014 more powerful than 2013. So as we're seeing this impacting now, what is it going to be like 2-3 years from now? As I've said many times before, we're in this era, Meria, where the irresistible force, which is this information change, this epoch, this yuga change that we're going through, we're in the cusp of it now. It comes face to face with what thinks it's the immovable object, the control system, but isn't. And the question is not, is the control system coming down? It is. The question is when, and the question is how extreme is it going to be before it's finally dismantled by this information change which is unfolding, which is not just affecting the way people are feeling and perceiving themselves. It's affecting actually the whole energetic structure which this control system is founded upon. It's basically having its foundations dismantled. But of course, when you face your biggest challenge, which is what the control system is facing now, just like the cornered rat, you throw everything you can to meet the challenge. And so we're seeing this more and more almost panic-stricken desire to impose as much control and mayhem as possible. And mayhem's important because on this level as well, if you are in a state, an emotionally traumatized state, a state of fear, a state of disharmony because of what you're facing and experiencing, challenges, chaos, upheavals, economic, military, and all the rest of it, then you obviously are not going to be tuning in, if you like, and getting the greatest benefit from this energetic change that you could without all those other competing emotional forces, energies, vibrational states pulling you back from it. So they want to create as much chaos and fear and upheaval as possible for many, many reasons. And one of them is to pull people into a low vibrational state in which this truth vibration transformation will not impact upon people to the full extent that it potentially could.
Right, exactly. Well, you know what's interesting is I've connected with people all over the world through my Facebook that are involved in exposing chemtrails. And
Right.
what's interesting is it seems as though, and especially here in Phoenix, that they've amped it up. I mean, more than ever. And I really believe it's because they are seeing that their mind control techniques and weapons aren't working. So they're trying, like you said, a last-ditch attempt to amp it up. But it's still not working. It's as though the entire human psyche is resistant now. We're like Monsanto seeds. We've become very resistant to their propaganda and their fear and their weapons for mind control. So it must be very frustrating to them because I don't think they counted on the human spirit really understanding who and what they are and moving as one unit.
Basically, the control system, because of its very nature, its very state of being nature, is actually a very low vibrational entity. And thus, to pull humanity into its vibrational stadium and thus be able to have a massive influence on their perception, they have to pull humanity into that low vibrational state on which the control system itself operates. You see, when you are running a system that is about control, imposition, parasiting off the population in multiple ways, imposing your will on the population. That's what the control system is and the mentality behind it. Then you can only do that within the vibrational range of that mental and emotional state. Thus it has to be, control systems have to be low vibrational, energetic, vibrational information constructs. So when people are in that frequency, which is why, as I said a few minutes ago, they want to create as much mayhem, upheaval, and fear and chaos as possible to pull people in there as much as they can. This is what the real reason, main foundation reason in many ways for microchips and all that stuff. It's the reason for a major reason for the additives in food and drink. They're all designed to pull people into a low vibrational state, a distorted vibrational, chemical, an electromagnetic state. But when you awaken, when you open your body-mind computer system, your vehicle, when you open that to the true self, which is consciousness, or at least do it more than what you did before, your vibrational state starts to resonate faster. Very simple. And these truth vibrations are teasing that state into being in more and more people all the time. And when you open your mind to consciousness, the true self, then you start to leave the vibrational stadium. So basically, if you like, the program that works within a certain vibrational frequency just stops affecting you. And suddenly you go, whoa, it's so obvious. Why couldn't I see it before? Because you've left the program, not totally, but you've left it massively, and now you can start to see the wood for the trees. Because before, you were in this world and of it, and now you're in this world interacting with it, but you're not even nearly so much of it in terms of the point of observation that you are observing your daily experience and events in the world from. And this is the process that's going on. It was a process, Meria, I was told was coming 21 years ago, which is why my first book, after my own awakening started, was called Truth Vibrations. It was the name of this change, and thus. The next few years are going to be incredibly challenging in terms of the control system's going to throw everything it can, but incredibly exhilarating in the way that this transformation of human awareness is going to be impacting itself more and more upon human perception and experience.
Right. Well, I got to tell you, I find it quite exciting. I'm like, yeah, I didn't think I'd live to see these days, and here it is. What could be more exciting than living through this?
Yes, exactly. I mean, and of course, there was no one on another frequency, another dimension, another level of reality with an AK-47 saying, get into that body or I shoot, from the perception of the greater consciousness, and not the body-mind that's now trying to work it all out, but from the greater consciousness that made the choices to be here now in this point. Right. We decided this. We wanted this experience, and certainly there may be many times when you think I never would have chosen this, but you know, get on the airbed, lie back and just go with the river as it starts to run faster and faster, and just enjoy the adventure, because we live forever. We are forever. Right. So this is just an experience. Let's get on with it.
Right. Well, my dad always used to say, don't ever fear any man. He said, they can only kill your body. They can't touch your soul.
Yeah, exactly. And that's absolutely right. From a vibrational point of view, these people can't get at your consciousness. It's vibrating too fast. They can't get there. They can get at your body-mind. And that's why when people get their point of observation pulled into body-mind, pulled entirely virtually into five-sense perception, that's when they got you. Absolutely. Once you open your mind to the greater self, then you are withdrawing from their vibrational software prison cell that this control system really is.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting you talked about food, because as a spiritual advisor and teacher, I don't mean to sound holy or make meat eaters feel guilty, but, that's another deliberate attempt to convince people you need this. It's healthy for you. You can't exist without it, because the density, the low frequency and vibration of eating tortured, murdered animals, and the density of flesh inside flesh is another way of locking you into this reality.
Yeah, they have multiple ways of doing it, because as I've been trying to get across for a long time now, the core of this control system, beyond your presidents and your prime ministers and the here today, gone tomorrow people, at the core of it, in the inside of the inside, at the center of the spider's web, they understand how reality works, what it is, at our level anyway, how to program the body computer system to decode reality to fit their agenda, and all the things necessary to keep us in a low vibrational state. I mean, they're even talking now about putting psychoactive drugs, but mind changing drugs into the water supply. I mean, it's just, it does smack of desperation, because what worked before, what could tick over before, and they didn't have a problem in keeping people in prison states, because people were in that mental arena of being asleep. It doesn't work anymore. They have to. What we're seeing with this increasing Orwellian manipulation of what we eat, by the vibrational state, the chemtrails, and all the rest of it, they're having to try harder and harder and harder to keep us in this imbalanced, distorted coma state. And of course, for them, it's only going to get harder and harder and harder as the information change impacts ever more powerfully upon human awareness.
Absolutely. Well, I know for one that they're going to lose. They're already losing, and they're going to continue to lose. David, we're going to go to a short break. When we get back, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some of the weather that's happening from this, coronal eruption that just affected China, and whether that's real or not, or a weapon. So I'm going to ask my listeners to stay with us. David and I will be right back.
Feeling overwhelmed? You are not alone. Right now, the planet is upside down, but that does not mean that your life has to be. Get some good vibrations from Meria. Her energy is contagious, and her sessions are life-changing. For over 30 years, the public has turned to Meria for direct, intuitive advice. Meria combines her business and life experience with her natural psychic gifts to provide a roadmap to the best possible future you can attain. Whether you're unsure of what you want or where your passion and life purpose live, from love to money, health, or spiritual matters, Meria can advise you on the best possible course of travel. Meria can guide you around possible pitfalls and steer you towards your goals. Check out www.meriaheller.com. That's www.meriaheller.com for more information. There are private consultations available with this fabulous daughter of Mother Earth, Meria Heller. Write for an appointment today at Meria, M-E-R-I-A, at meria.net. Now back to Maria's great show.
Okay, we're back. I'm speaking with David Icke. Get over to davidicke.com. His book, Human Race, Get Off Your Knees, The Lion Sleeps No More. Everybody giving it rave reviews. You can buy it right here through the site. David, before the break, I mentioned this large ejection, this coronal mass ejection hurtling towards Earth as charged plasma particles at 560 miles a second. China this morning saying that it's knocked out their ham radios, and they're expecting a lot of satellite interference. They're already predicting that, here in the United States, we could have all kinds of problems with transformers, electrical currents, grids, etc. It could take 10 years to fix the damage. I'm looking at that, and, there's supposed to be many more coming from the sun this year. Another reason of global warming, certainly not humans. But I'm also looking at earthquake reports everywhere. Now, here in Arkansas, in the United States, they had a 4.6 last night, and then they said the event never happened. So I did a little digging online, and it said that Arkansas has had something like 36 small earthquakes, which are very unusual for that state. But they don't know why it's having those earthquakes. What interests me is how they deny the earthquake happens after they've already reported it.
Well, I can talk about that. Funnily enough, 21 years ago now, when I learned about the truth vibrations, alongside that was that they were going to wake people up from their coma. They were going to also bring to the surface all that had been hidden from humanity. Now, of course, crikey, has that happened or what? And it's happening more all the time. And the third element was, it was going to bring some serious geological effects, not least because we have an Earth which is, when you look beyond the holographic level, what we call the physical level, you're into the electrical and digital and vibrational levels. So when anything seriously vibrationally is changing, then there is a restructuring of all vibrational fields that come into contact with it. So there is a restructuring going on of the Earth's vibrational field. And this is a whole area that I'm introducing into my talks, in that whole first section about the nature of reality. I'll be doing this in Los Angeles. And that's the fact that the base, the foundation of this reality is waveform. It's vibrational information, which we decode through to electrical information, and it operates on electrical level, and it comes through to the digital level and the holographic level we call the physical. Now, the level that we're looking at when we look at what the sun's doing at the moment, and in many ways the level we're looking at in terms of the effect on the Earth, is the electrical. This universe is, on one level, an electrical web. It is like a wireless internet. It's an electrical system of information. The sun, I would strongly suggest, is nothing like mainstream science says it is. It is not something that generates its energy from its core, and that, well, I read in some articles, takes 1 million years or something to get to the surface and be ejected. It's not like that at all. The sun is 99.9% plasma. The universe, this is mainstream science, is 99.9999% plasma. And plasma is the vehicle through which electricity is channeled. It's like the means through which the electricity travels, and that electricity in its prime state is information. And what the sun is it's not something where the energy is coming from the core. It's like a gatherer or a focal point of massive electrical power, and it comes to the sun from this plasma electrical web that is the universe on that level, and it draws that energy into itself and then refracts or projects it out into the solar system. So when it's picking up more of this electrical energy, that's when we say the sun is in a active state. There's more sunspots, there's more flares, the whole thing. When the energy cycle, the electrical energy cycle in this solar system is on a down phase, then the sun is not basically working with the same level of electrical energy, and thus we have the down, quieter time of solar radiation. And clearly there is a period we're looking at now where the power of the energy that the sun is, if you like, gathering and then projecting into the solar system is getting more and more powerful. And in doing so, it must affect life on Earth. It must affect what are we talking about? I mean, here we go. What are they saying? Electrical systems are being affected because it's electricity on one level that's being projected. And you know, scientists have no problem about electromagnetic fields and all that stuff. You can't have an electromagnetic field without electrical charges. Without electricity, you can't.
Right.
And thus, by the very nature, we live in an electrical universe. And so this electrical power is getting more and more strong at this moment, and of course we're going to be affected by that. Not just electrical systems, but we're electrical.
Exactly.
The planet's electrical on one level. I mean, the brain's electrical, for goodness sake. Look at it. That's when we have thoughts. It's an electrical system going on. The whole genetic structure is on one level electrical. So we're going to be affected by this in terms of the way we decode reality, in terms of the way our body reacts, and all the rest of it. Because we are electrical on one level. I keep saying that because we operate on multi-levels of reality. But on one level, we're electrical systems interacting with electrical systems, and it's like a computer interacting with a wireless internet. Same basic principle.
Exactly.
And it's not just in terms of technology that's affected. Multi-levels, emotionally, mentally, physically, etc. In terms of the planet that we're talking about, all going to be affected by this increased electricity. You know, when you have a situation where, I've heard scientists say we don't understand why stars are sometimes brighter than at other times. I've read articles about that. Well, It's like look at a star, look at the sun, and think dimmer switch. You know, you push the dimmer switch down, the amount of electricity generated to the light is reduced, so it dims. You increase the electricity, and it increases the power of the light. Because, and then from this perspective, Meria, we can start looking at how astrology works on this level, because the sun and the planets and the stars are electrical, vibrational, if you like, entities that are interacting with this electrical mesh, this electrical web that we are constantly interacting with. So as the planets move, they are affecting the information construct that we're interacting with. So if you are born at a certain time, some people say it's the point of procreation, but it's certainly it's take birth. When you're born, you are picking up an energy field that connects with yours, which is the information construct at that time, dictated to a large extent by the sun, by where the planets are, and therefore how they're affecting this field. And then you are then going to interact with this collective field I'm talking about in a different way to someone born 2 months later or 3 months later, when they take on a different, sometimes very different, even a few minutes can make a difference in terms of the way our energy field through what we call our life then interacts with the wireless internet, the cosmic internet, as I call it. And this is why really detailed astrology is a science. It might not be the stuff you get, in a newspaper where it's 2 lines and all the rest of it, right. But detailed astrology can be a science of reading these information fields that we take on. This is why you get groups and clusters of people with certain abilities and certain aptitudes that tend to come from certain times of the year.
Absolutely. Well, you know what I'm finding is people that are not vibrating at a higher level spiritually right now are really having a hard time emotionally and physically. They're becoming emotional basket cases and physically having all kinds of really strong physical ailments.
Well, I was told about this as well 21 years ago as part of this Truth Vibrations package, because as the vibrational field, the information field goes on changing, then if we don't change with it, then we lose sync with our vibrational information environment. This is why the control system must fall, because that's the situation it's in its collective state. It's losing contact with its vibrational information field, because that's changing as the truth vibrations change the information construct of this reality, or part of it anyway. And so it's time, that people need to be honest with themselves and need to look themselves in the mirror, because there are so many people who put up a front of being love, light, and peace, and open-hearted people, oh, I'm so kind, which is just a front, not just to hide the real self from others, though it's certainly that, but to hide the real self from self. And what you tend to find is the more extreme they are in the way they seek to portray themselves as love, light, peace, and kindness, and hope and heart and loving and oh, aren't I nice? Right. The more extreme they do that, the more they're trying to hide the real self, which is anything like that. I mean, we've all had experiences of such people. I mean, there's a lot of them about. And for their benefit, they need to face the real self so they can shift out of this manipulative, cold, calculating, devious states of being and manipulation of people and situations, which they hide both from others and self by projecting this fake self-identity of love, light, and all the rest of it. Some of the people who've claimed and go on claiming to be so loving and full of kindness and open-hearted wonder have been some of the most disruptive, self-obsessed, devious, and parasitical people that I've ever come across. And it's really important for their sake and all of our sakes that we look in the mirror and we're in the sense that we're honest with ourselves and the baggage that we all have, so that we can drop it and move most efficiently, most powerfully with this vibrational change and keep up with it.
Right.
Because the more we keep up with it, the more the benefits in terms of our own ability to create wonder in our lives will be happening.
Right. Well, that's a problem, I've seen, for 40 years now, is a lot of people that claim to be love and light, they talk the talk, but they surely don't walk the talk. And there's a big difference.
A massive difference. And sometimes the difference between the projected self-identity and the what lies behind it is shockingly different. I mean, breathtakingly different. And you just wonder what scale of self-deception is necessary for people not to be able to see that what they're doing and how they're acting in relation to other people and situations is the absolute opposite of what they claim to be. Sometimes it's shocking, but self-deception can be very, very powerful, especially when it's motivated by some subconscious fear of actually having to face yourself and deal with what you are, as opposed to the fairy story you sell to yourself and to those around you, because eventually, by their actions you shall know them. If people will, even those you've deceived and sold the fake identity to, eventually they will see it. And what happens in the end is that you're left, you're left standing alone on the side of the road because no one's buying it anymore. So it's really important that people are honest with themselves, and we're all honest with ourselves, because it's to our benefit to be so.
Well, yeah, and the other thing that, always gets to me is those are the same people, and it's not just the New Age types who, most of them I don't see any different than phony religious leaders, but it's also people who put themselves out there as journalists or reporters or people doing shows similar to mine. But the bottom line is they use it for their own agenda, their own private, selfish, and a lot of times wicked reasoning behind it, without any thought of responsibility for every soul that they run astray.
Well, this is an interesting point, because that line, by their actions shall you know them, is very, very powerful, because I look at people, I've had them in my life, who say the information is the prime thing, it's the most important thing. We've got to get the word out. We've got to get the information out. It's so important, there's nothing more important. And that's fine while they're benefiting from that.
Right.
But the moment it suits them to do something that is damaging to the information getting out, damaging to people who are getting that information out, they're quite happy to do that. It's not a problem. Now the information's not the priority anymore. It's me, and what's best for me, even if it means harming, diverting, and undermining the work of people who are trying to get it out and working 12-hour days, day after day to do it. And that's when you know if someone is genuine or if they're just a fake who is using the arena for their own if you like, notoriety and benefit,
Right.
instead of the information and what we need to do being the constant, total point of motivation of everything. And I've had them in my life, and I've observed them around the conspiracy New Age arena that is not directly in my life. And you see it all the time. Some are more extreme than others, but it's like, the information's more important while I'm benefiting, and when it suits me to cause damage to that information because of me, and what I think suits me, then I'm quite happy to do it, because the common theme is not the information and what's best for it, but it's what's best for me in the situation that I'm facing, whatever it may be. The frauds and fakes are legion, but fortunately, the genuine people who are really, really genuine are also many at the same time, and it becomes easier. I don't know whether you find this, Meria. Maybe it's just experience, but of experiencing these people. But they seem easier and easier to spot now.
Oh, absolutely.
Much easier.
It's always been fairly easy for me, although every now and then one of the snakes seemed to get through. But, these people remind me of, many years ago I read the autobiography of P.T. Barnum. And he was the guy that really started off circuses and whatever. He was a very brilliant man. And one of the expressions he used, and he became famous for, was, there's a sucker born every minute and two to take 'em.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of people who profess to be love and light, who profess to be alternative progressive radio, who really aren't. They're looking for, one of the two suckers. And so they give you lip service, but there's really no substance behind it. There's no real spirit behind it.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. Right. I've had personal experience of it. And like I say, my criteria is the information and the greater good the focus at all times, or is it personal benefit? And so often you find that what lip service says the greater good, in reality the behavior says me.
Exactly. Well, I always tell people, this sentence I got from a Native American friend of mine years ago. He said, if your ego is not your amigo, get rid of it.
Great line.
And it is a damn good line. And I think a lot of people come from ego and ignorance and greed.
And also vindictiveness. I mean, some of the most vindictive people that I've come across have been those that profess love, light, open-hearted, anti-kind. It's extraordinary levels of self-deception, as I mentioned earlier.
Well, it's, it is what it is. People have to choose right now. What are they going to really stand for? Are they going to get their vibrational level up to the correct place where they should be living in a state of gratitude and awe? Or are they going to stay stuck in this paradigm, worried about the things they own and losing their stuff?
Well, it's just a choice. And I've been using for a long time the symbolism of the fork in the road, but, it just gets closer and closer and closer. I mean, we are at a vibrational fork in the road because of what's happening to the information construct of this reality, and we need to choose what are we going to do, and it's not, these people can go down this road and these people can't. Anyone can. This means changing your perception of self, life, and the world, and your vibrational state will follow that. It really is. We're in control of it, and we can change ourselves on all different levels just by deciding to change ourselves.
Exactly.
It's not the chosen ones. We choose ourselves.
Right. And every day, I tell a lot of my clients, every day when you wake up, you have a chance to start all over again.
Yep. Absolutely.
You can create your own reality starting the minute you open your eyeballs. But if you're going to get up and, curse the day, guess what? You're going to have a pretty crappy day.
Yeah, and also what it seems, Martin Luther King had this line, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I don't know what your experience is, Meria, but mine, as I observe people and situations, is that that arc of the moral universe, which basically comes down to what you give out, you get back, and then some, seems to be getting shorter. The distance between what you put out and what you get back seems to be coming quicker and quicker and quicker. And I'm sure it's something to do with this vibrational change that's going on.
I totally agree. I've been seeing it myself for, I would say more so the past 2 or 3 years, where karma seems to be instant. Not to quote, but to quote John Lennon's song, instant karma's going to get you. And what I see is, what goes around is coming around a lot quicker.
And I think, if we get out of the realms of karma is punishment, cause and effect is punishment, what is happening at this time of immense vibrational change, information change, perception change, is that it's putting ourselves in front of ourselves through cause and effect, quicker and quicker and more obviously, to help us look in that symbolic mirror and say, yes, I do need to change. I do need to change my attitudes. I'm not the loving, wonderful person I thought I was. I have been screwing this person financially, or screwing this person in an unpleasant way. I have been manipulating. I have been devious. And when we start to admit those things and face ourselves behind the fake self-identity, then amazingly fast things can happen. The change can happen in terms of the way we can move on with this change in a very positive way. It's not punishment. It's saying, look at yourself, look at your attitudes, and here's your opportunity to face yourself and change. Because if you don't face yourself, you're not going to change. Certainly, if you go around selling a fake identity to others, and most importantly to yourself, you ain't going to change. And so, the consequences of not changing at this time will be coming towards you.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of good spiritual teachers have said the hardest trip to take is only 12 inches. It's moving from your mind into your heart. Yeah. And a lot of people just won't do it.
Yeah.
Too scary.
The heart doesn't talk, it does. And when people talk heart, they're telling me that they're in their head, because it's intellectual rather than genuine. And the heart doesn't need to go around telling everybody how loving it is. Its attitudes, its behavior, its the way it conducts itself tells you that someone's coming from their heart. When you have to keep telling people over and over how loving, kind, and etc. you are, then there's something wrong, because it should be bloody obvious if it was genuine. It's like in America, where the authorities keep telling the people they live in the freest country in the world. If it was, you wouldn't have to tell me.
Exactly. David, I want to thank you for joining me today. Look forward to our talk next month, too.
Yeah, that's great, Meria. Thank you. It's very enjoyable.
Always. You take good care. We'll talk soon.
See you. Bye.
Bye. David Icke. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you're listening at the Gary Knowles Network and you like the show, you're going to love all the shows on my site. So get over to Meria, Meria.net. Get yourself the best thing you'll ever spend $15 on, a subscription. Get educated and educate others.
Thank you for listening and supporting the Meria Show. Tell others what you learned today. Knowledge becomes wisdom only when it's shared. Encourage others to subscribe today. www.meria.net. Often imitated, never duplicated. A world of information all in one place. www.meria.net. Always ahead of the curve. Always on your side. Get active or get radioactive. Subscribe today.